the central story of Surah Al-Kahf and the central story of the Quran, actually, which is the story of Musa and Khadir, or Musa and Khizr in the way it's said in Urdu. When I say central, I mean it's the second of two great, the second of three great stories in Surah Al-Kahf. You will all know this. You recite Surah Al-Kahf every week, and you recite it with with the English translation, so with understanding. I'm sure you've had many talks on Surah Al-Kahf in the past, and I'm always a little bit nervous about ending up repeating something that somebody else has said. But بِالتَّكْرَارِ يُعَلَّمُ الْحِمَارِ. Right? It is through repetition that donkeys learn. So we're all donkeys. We all need repetition. And so if I say something you've heard before, my teachers always used to say, if we say things you have heard before, remember that although the lesson may be the same, the listener is not. The learner is not. So you are not the same person as you were when you heard it previously. So never say, oh, I've heard this story before, or I've heard this hadith before, or I've heard this lesson before. No, this you hasn't heard it. A younger you may have heard it, but this you, weathered by more experience, weathered by life as it has occurred, weathered by a deepened understanding, or matured by a deepened understanding of your religion, of yourself, of your Lord, of your life, this you hasn't heard this story before, hasn't heard this lesson before. And if you can do this, insha'Allah, then everything becomes fresh for us. Everything becomes new for us. Having said all of that, if I do say something that you've heard before, then, I ask your forgiveness, insha'Allah. So in the surah, of course, we know that there are four great stories in this, three great stories, 3.5 really, three great stories in the surah. The sleepers of the cave at the beginning of the surah. Then there is an extended analogy, which is the two men with the gardens, and it is sometimes people have a bit of a discussion amongst themselves as to whether this is a story or an analogy. In this case, we are saying it's an analogy. So the first story is the sleepers of the cave. The second story is the story of Musa and Khidr, and the third story is that of Dhul Qarnayn. Now, each of these stories is interesting from a number of perspectives. I said also that Surah Al-Kahf, the story of Musa and Khidr is the center of the Quran. And that is because it crosses over the end of the 15th juz of the Quran and the beginning of the 16th juz, which is literally the middle of the Quran. And it is an absolutely fascinating story from a number of perspectives. And I could talk about it from various angles, but here I'm going to talk about it in terms of trials, tragedy, trauma, and how we go about understanding them. And this is because of what actually occurs in the story. You have these, it is a absolutely, I've always found it an absolutely fascinating story because of the two central protagonists of the story. You have Musa, the great prophet of the law, who brought the law down from Sinai. And you have Khidr, or Khadir, who is this incredibly mysterious figure, not mentioned anywhere else in the Quran, and only mentioned in a very few hadiths, one of which is in Bukhari, which is where we get the name Khadir from, in explanation of this particular qissa, or this particular story in the surah. It's important to remember, if you take a step back, that Surah Al-Kahf is a tale of travel. It is a surah that deals with travel. Okay, and you can see behind me here we have Ghazali's, I'm just about to start teaching this now actually, book 17 of the Ihya, which is Ghazali on Adab al-Safar, the ethics or the conduct in travel. And one of the things that he mentions right at the beginning in his khutbah, I won't go into detail about Ghazali and his khutbahs, although they are full of metaphysical insights, full of spiritual insights. But he mentions that that human beings on the outward journey, i.e. you have to go from place to place or what have you, maybe some of you are going to Portland, Oregon for an in-person conference, for example. These journeys are reflective of the deeper journeys of the human being. The journey of the human being along the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Our entire life is framed as a journey. our life in this world, our physical world. We speak about the path of return. Ya Rabbana ilayka al-masir. Oh Allah, to you is the journey's end. We talk about returning to Allah. Yarji'un. Ilayhi yarji'un. To him are we returning, or are you returning, and so forth. So this is the journey of our life from birth to death. Then the journey of guidance, the Sirat al-Mustaqim. There is a right path, there are wrong paths, and so forth. The life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a journey, is very much a journey of return. The journey of from Mecca to Medina and back to Mecca again, with the conquest of Mecca. The journey of the Mi'raj, and so forth. There are all of these journeys, and in this surah, each of these three major stories deals with a journey. It deals with a journey. The sleepers of the cave journey on a hijrah from a place of oppression to a place of safety, a place where they never would have expected to find safety, a cave in a mountain. And they are then taken on a journey through time, so that hundreds of years later, when they return, the place has changed beyond all recognition. Musa journeys to find Khadir alayhi salam, and then goes on a journey with him. And these journeys are described, both of these two, the journey to the teacher, the journey with the teacher, are described in detail. And then the journeys of Dhul Qarnayn, the great ruler, the great king Dhul Qarnayn, who journeys to the east, to the west, and then to the north, where so these journeys, all of these journeys that are taking place. So it is a surah of journeys, and therefore, as with any journey, it is a surah of crossing barzakhs. It is a movement out of your comfort zone, you might say. You cross over an interstice from the known to the unknown, from the familiar to the strange, from the ordinary to the extraordinary. And it's that last part that is present. All these three are present in each of the stories. There is physical travel. Then there is if you like, an intellectual travel, the grasping of a truth that would not have been apparent had you not undertaken the journey. And then a spiritual journey, which is emotionally difficult and which entails a trial and a tribulation. So in each of these stories, you have this theme. You have this theme emerging. Around that, then, you have various aphorisms, various pieces of guidance that come to us. Al-mal wal-banun zinatul hayati dunya wal-baqiyatul salihat. That the wealth and children are but the adornments of this world. It is those deeds, those righteous deeds that will endure forever. They are the true treasure, and so forth. So understanding this idea of journeying is very important, because you and I, in some ways, from the comfort of our homes, undertake journeys. Before I came to sit with you here today, I went to see my mum, I went to see my mother, and she had Al Jazeera on, which seems to be like permanently on in her house, Al Jazeera. And I said, why do you keep on watching Al Jazeera? You're just going to get depressed. I mean, news in general is depressing. News about the Muslim world is just like super depressing, But in some ways, she says, no, I want to, but I want to know. And then she will make dua and so forth. And actually, she is being taken on a journey. As she watches the news, she journeys to Gaza and to Lebanon and to different parts of the Muslim world and to other parts of the world. And she's taken on a journey where she sees people in states of hardship, in states of distress, and so forth. And what is the response then that she has to this? There is an element of, why is it happening? Are the oppressors, are they going to get their comeuppance? When are the oppressed people going to gain relief, and so forth? And so she is also, although sitting in her house, is also undertaking the same three journeys, from the familiar to the unfamiliar, from the known to the unknown. and from the ordinary to the extraordinary. She is learning about things that she would not have known about otherwise. She would never have come to know about otherwise. And this new knowledge demands a response from her, as it does with us. It demands a response from us. And I want to focus now just quickly on the story of Musa and Khidr. Musa and Khadir. As I say, these two fascinating protagonists. You have the prophet of the law, the prophet of Sharia, and the knower of Haqiqah. The prophet of the law, of ethics, of the right thing to do in the moment. And then you have the one who is given knowledge about the reality of things, the true reality of things. And each of these accounts that occurs, and I'm sure I don't need to recount the story for you. I will, though, however, do it briefly for those of you who may be logging in, for the first or second time and you're not aware of the account. So this story runs, or this particular qissa in the surah runs from verse 60 to verse 82. It's the longest actually of the three stories in Surah Al-Kahf. So it runs over these 22 or 23 verses. And it starts with the Musa alayhi salam it starts very abruptly, almost in the middle of the story. Actually, this hadith in Surah Baqarah gives the context, gives the framing context. It's the hadith that gives the framing context. Musa alayhi salam is teaching his people. They say to him, is there anyone more knowledgeable on the face of the earth than you? And he says, no, there isn't. I am the most knowledgeable person on the face of the earth. Well, of course he is. He's the great prophet of God. And then Allah sends him a message and he says that, Musa, truly you are knowledgeable, but there is one who knows more than you. So Musa alayhi salam says then, oh Allah, tell me who it is, tell me where to find him, and I will set out on a journey so that I may learn from him. This is the humility of Musa alayhi salam, which is why true knowledge does not bring about arrogance. True knowledge brings about humility. As soon as Musa alayhi salam hears there is somebody who knows something about his Lord that he does not, then he is immediately wanting to go and meet him. And so he goes on this journey with a servant of his, and they journey. Eventually, they come across them. There various hijinks ensue, but they come across a man who's not named as Khadir, but is Abdul min ibadina. He's one of our servants, Allah says, and he is given knowledge min ladunni. He has been granted rahmah, I should say rahmatun min ladunni, with mercy from my own presence. Mercy from my own presence. And so he asks this man, will you allow me to accompany you? So that, or will you allow me to follow you, in fact? هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا? Will you allow me to follow you? And follow has a sense of servitude. Will you allow me to follow and serve you so that you may teach me some of the right guidance with which you have been blessed? With you have been blessed. Khidr says to him, you will never be able to have patience with me. Musa says, no, give me a try. They go off and they have 3 encounters. They are on a ship and Khadir sinks the ship. He knocks a hole with an axe in the boat sinks. Musa says, what are you doing, man? What's wrong with you? This is the people's livelihood and you've destroyed it. Khidr says, I told you you would not be able to have patience with me. Musa says, no, give me one more chance. Give me one more chance. They carry on. They see a young man. Khadir alayhi salam takes out his sword and kills him. Murders him. Straight there. Flood murdered him. Musa alayhi salam says, what is wrong with you? How can you do such a thing? Khidr said, I told you you wouldn't be able to have patience with me. Musa alayhi salam says, okay, I accept. Give me one more chance. Give me one more chance. They continue on the journey. They come to a town. The people of the town are not hospitable, which in that day and age was like a absolute no-no. Hospitability is something that is a human right, not in our times, of course, but it was hospitability was understood. No matter what, you are hospitable to people who come to you. But the people of the town were not hospitable. They did not give them anywhere to stay, effectively. But Khidr notices that a wall in the town has crumbled, it's fallen down, it's about to fall down. So he says to Musa, come on, let's build up this wall. He builds up the wall back again so it becomes strong. Khidr said, you could have asked them for a reward for this. You've done them a favor. And Khidr, Musa says, you could have asked them for a reward. Khidr says, so this now is the parting between you and me. Now let me explain to you that about which you could not hold your patience. And then Khidr alayhi salam goes on to explain each of those incidents. So that is the story of Musa and Khidr. And each one is explained. And each one is explained basically the thing that Musa alayhi salam lacked was the sense of the passage of time. That things, the unseen, that Khidr alayhi salam teaches Musa in order to instill in Musa alayhi salam what? Sabr. Sabr. A sense of patience. Is he taught Musa alayhi salam about time. What do I mean by that? Why did you sink the boat? Because there's a king who is coming down the river. He is seizing everybody's boats for himself. I scuttled this boat so that when the king comes past, he just sees a ruined boat, or it's lying at the bottom of the river. Before these people have the chance to repair it, he will pass by. In other words, something is coming in the future. Something is coming in the future. A calamity is coming in the future. And this seeming calamity, which is some madman sinking these people's boat, their only means of livelihood, will actually turn out to be a blessing for them, because it will save them from an even greater calamity that is coming. The second, the young boy, who Khidr alayhi salam just kills. Fatah, it can mean a young man, it can mean a child. It's not made explicit in the Quranic account. What could possibly justify this? Khidr alayhi salam said, this young man will, in the future, would have become a disbeliever. His parents are righteous people, and because of their love for their child, they would have ended up following their child into disbelief. In other words, by killing this young boy, I have both saved his soul and the souls of his parents. In other words, this seeming calamity that is occurring, in the tragedy that is occurring in the here and now, in reality is averting an even greater tragedy that will occur when? In the akhirah. In the akhirah. The first story, it is the future of the dunya. You are being saved by a calamity in the present from a greater calamity in the dunya that is to come in the future. In the second story, you are being saved by a calamity in the dunya from the greatest calamity possible that is to come in the akhirah, i.e. in the future. What about the third account? Here, Khidr does something nice for a change, right? He does something nice. He repairs this wall, but he repairs it for people who are undeserving. So what's that about? Well, he says that the father, there are two young orphans in this town. Their father had hidden their inheritance, basically, under this wall. It had been hidden under this wall. Had the wall fallen down, the treasure would have been exposed, and the unjust people of this town would have taken away the wealth that belongs to these orphans. And therefore, by repairing the wall, by seeming to do oppressors or unjust people a favor, I am preventing them from doing a greater injustice, or from doing great injustice in the future. In each of these accounts, therefore, in each of these accounts, we are told the same thing. We are told that God has a plan, and that plan will unveil itself in the course of time, over the course of time. The thing that human beings lack is an understanding, therefore, of time and destiny. And the secret knowledge that was given to Khidr alayhi salam was the understanding of the divine decree. Was the understanding of the divine decree. Now, you and I, we walk through this world and we are overcome We are overcome by, we turn on the news and we are taken to Gaza, what's left of it. We are taken to Lebanon. We are taken here, we are taken there, and we are overcome by sadness, by grief, but by more than that, by frustration, by fury, by resentment, by a deep sense of unfairness. We are Musa. But it's not right. You have done something nukra, shay'an nukra, shay'an imra, a dreadful thing. We are accompanied in this manner. By who? We are accompanied by the decree of God. Musa represents us at our best. Musa represents us as people who wish to see justice done. Musa, the prophet of law. We wish to see justice done. We wish that good be rewarded. We wish that evil be punished or at least restrained. We wish that good guys do not finish last, and we seek to bring it about. Musa is us, the people of taklif, the people who have a moral responsibility to make good the world. Khidr is the sword of destiny. And all of our good intentions cannot stand before the sword of destiny. Khidr takes all of Musa's concerns, takes all of his ethics, and knocks them into a cocked hat. And he doesn't explain. He doesn't explain until Musa has failed to hold his patience 3 times. Musa, chup. Musa, chup. Musa, lesson over. Khidr is a fascinating character, an inscrutable character. What is he given from the divine presence? Rahmah. Rahmah. What does he do with that rahmah? What does he do with that rahmah? Scuttles a boat that is the only livelihood of its people, murders a child or a young man, and assists oppressors. What is he really doing? That is what happens when you view Khidr from the perspective of the present. That you judge him by the present. You judge him by the scene. What happens when you judge him by the perspective of eternity? This is what happens at the end of the surah, or the end of the story. Now, what is Musa doing? What is Khidr doing? Khidr is saving the livelihood of the people by scuttling their boat. Saving the soul, not 1 but 3 people by killing the child. And saving the inheritance of the innocent. Saving the inheritance of the innocent by appearing to help the oppressor. Khidr represents Allah's action through his decree. What Allah has decreed to occur. Musa represents what Allah has commanded to be done. Understand this. وَلِلَّهِ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ. To God alone is the creation and the decree. Or, to God alone is the bringing forth and the right to command that good be done. The same Allah that commands Musa not to destroy or to preach that the wealth of people should not be destroyed, that their lives should not be taken, and that oppressors should not be assisted, decrees that people's wealth is destroyed, innocent lives are taken, and oppressors' lives are made easier. Why though? Because in the scope of eternity, what is it Martin Luther King said? What is the law of the universe? The law of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I think something like that. No. The arc of the moral universe, the arc of justice is long, but it bends towards mercy. The mercy is known over time. So what this surah is teaching us, think about now the initial recipients of this surah. Think about the Sahaba. They are thinking about their wealth being taken from them. When was this surah revealed? This surah is revealed in Mecca, right? When the persecution is about to begin. They are being starved. They are being persecuted. They are being beaten. They are being driven from their land. Because of what? Because we said our Lord is God. Because we said our Lord is God. Look at all of these trials and tribulations. And we see this in the hadith works. The Sahaba would complain bitterly about the oppression and the persecution they were suffering, and they would say, and the Prophet would sit and he would listen to them. That one particular hadith, it's in Riyadh al-Salihin, and they said it is mentioned the Prophet was lying, resting his back on the Kaaba, and the Sahaba were with him and they were complaining about. And then one of them asked, but why is Allah allowing this to happen? And then the Prophet sits up. Immediately, he said, he sits up. Yeah, and he says, people before you were tortured in ways you won't even imagine. And they did not give up their faith in God. Right? The help of God will come. But you are too impatient. You are too impatient. What does Khidr say to Musa? Be patient. I told you you won't be able to have patience. I told you you won't be able to have patience. And who is he telling this to? Remember the first thing he says to Musa alayhi salam, I assume after wa alaikum salam. First thing he says to Musa alayhi salam, when Musa, humbly, the great prophet of God, who is Musa? Musa is not just anyone. Musa is not even just any prophet. Musa is Ulul Azm. He is one of the 5 greatest of all the prophets. He is the prophet who brought down the Torah from Sinai. And what is the Torah? The written Torah, and the Torah that was inspired into his heart. The Kitab and the Hikmah. In Jewish theology, Musa receives 2 books on Sinai. The Torah and the Mishnah. The Torah is the mitzvot, it's the Sharia. It's the, however, I think it is 613 mitzvot, 613 rules. And then he is taught the Mishnah. And that is not written, that is inspired into his heart, which is the explanation of the Torah, the explanation of the rules that were sent down with him. Yeah? All of this Musa is given at one go. What came to the Prophet ﷺ over 23 years, the Quran and the Sunnah, Musa ﷺ, Torah and the Mishnah. I may be getting the words wrong. I'm not an expert on Jewish theology, but this is what was sent to Musa ﷺ. He is a great prophet. He comes to Khidr ﷺ and he says what? He says, teach me. Let me serve you. Let me follow you and you teach me. What is the first thing Khidr ﷺ says to him? لن تستطيع عليه صبرا. You will never be able to have patience with me. You don't have what it takes, Musa. And this is the lesson Musa ﷺ learns. Have patience, O you person of righteousness, O you person of the law, O you person of justice, O you person who wants that good be done. Have patience with what God has decreed, because what God has decreed is both just and merciful. If you are at the end of all things, if you are prepared to have the patience to wait to the end of all things. I was talking to somebody about what's happening in Gaza. It's like, but when are these people going to be, Netanyahu, when is he going to be punished? When is Allah going to punish him? I said, look, how about we leave that to Allah? How about we leave that to Allah? Allah is the punisher. He is muntaqim, not you. Allah is muntaqim. How about we leave it to Allah? No, but this guy, justice will be done, one way or another. Justice will be done. But the place of recompense is the akhirah. The place of recompense is the akhirah, not the dunya. If you are looking to see justice being done in dunya, you're going to be very disappointed. The place where justice is done is the akhirah. And this is why belief in the akhirah is so important. A firm belief. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. Think about what Allah says right at the beginning of the Quran. Talking about the Quran itself, right? هُدًى لِلنَّاسِ ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ, those who believe, بِالْغَيْبِ, in the unseen, الْغَيْبِ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ, establish the prayer, they perform the zakat, they believe in what was revealed to them or to reveal to you, Ya Rasulullah, believe in what was revealed to those who came before you. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. They believe, they believe, they believe, they believe, and they have certainty. What do they have certainty in? The akhirah. They have certainty in the akhirah. And this is why so much of the Quran is about the akhirah. So everything will be made right. Everything will be put right. We must have this. This is faith. And this is exactly the lesson that Allah teaches Musa alayhi salam through Khadir. This is the lesson. What did Musa ask for? Because the Prophet's du'as are answered. هل أتبعك? May I follow you? Done. على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا. So that you teach me some of what مما علمت you have been taught of true guidance. What was the rushd, therefore, that Musa alayhi salam received from Khadir? It is what every person of justice who has a sense of justice needs to hear, needs to understand, so that their justice, your sense of justice, your sense of right and wrong is not twisted by the shaitan within you into frustration, into fury, into hatred, into malice, either against creation or against God or against yourself. It's my fault. I should have done more. I could have done more. I was talking to a woman, because I'm a psychiatrist. I tend to have, conversations with people that are absolutely horrible. They, talk about those horrible things that ever happened in their life. Someone said to me recently, I was, asking them about their life, and which is what I do. I spend my time asking people about their lives. How was your child? Give me one word to describe your childhood. And she says, happy. I said, that's so boring. She said, what? I said, so disappointed. I've got nothing to write down now. She said, happy. Yeah. I said, and so she started laughing. I said, I'm a psychiatrist. I need trauma. I need trauma to feed me. You got to tell me about the horrible things that happened. I'm not interested in the nice things. Tell me the horrible things that happened to you. And it seems like that sometimes in our lives. We're interested in the horrible things only. Yeah. The fact of the matter is that we go through these experiences in our life. And I was talking to this one lady, and she had been sexually abused for years as a child, which is, unfortunately, it's not that rare an occurrence. It's really sad. It's just not that rare an occurrence. And she said, she was telling me about this. I feel really, feeling terrible, about this thing that happened to her. So she's telling me about this, and she says, for years, I blamed myself. I should have known better. I should have known that this is not right. I said, how old were you? 6. It happened to her when she's 6 years old. And she blamed, at the age of 56, she blames herself. It was my fault. Yeah. So what are our responses to trauma, to tribulations, to trials and tragedies that we experience? The impulse of justice comes from rahmah. Remember these two words, they are very important. Justice and mercy. Adl and rahmah, they are not opposites. One is born out of the other. Justice is the child of mercy. What is justice? A desire that good come to others. It is a desire for fairness, that things be right, that people are not wronged, that they are not oppressed, and so forth. What is that? That is an expression of rahmah. What is rahmah? It is a selfless love. It is a desire that good come to others. Iradatul khair lil khair. So justice is a beautiful quality, and it is a human quality. And it's a quality that arises from a divine quality, which is mercy. But that as extraordinary strength, extraordinary virtue that all human beings have, can unfortunately easily be twisted. And it is when the ability to bring justice or to experience justice is thwarted. Frustrated justice. Justice not being done, whether to ourselves, whether to others. Look at the world around you. Where is justice being done in the world exactly? Where are things right? The weak are oppressed. The strong are running roughshod. They don't care what is happening in the Middle East at the moment. You see, there's not even a pretense of balance, of fairness. We will do exactly what we want to do, and what are you going to do about it? Yeah, this guy gives a talk at the UN. That's basically what he said. We're going to keep doing exactly what we want to do, and what are you going to do about it exactly? Nothing. No one is going to do anything about it. And after all, Gaza and Lebanon are not Ukraine. Right? You know, some people are obviously more deserving of help than others. But that's the way of the world. That's the way of the world. We are Musa. We are Musa. We are people who want justice. Out of our mercy, we want justice. We walk around, what do we see? Injustice. Injustice that for once in the life of Musa alayhi salam, he is powerless to prevent. You think of the life of Musa alayhi salam up to this time. Yeah, he is the recipient of he is when the firstborn children of Israel are being slaughtered. He is adopted by the one who gave the command to slaughter them. That's how Musa's life begins. Yeah, he's put in a basket, in a bushel basket, sent down the Nile River, into whose hands? Pharaoh's hands. He is literally taken into the household of Pharaoh. Yeah. What happens is he's a young man, and he sees somebody being persecuted. He goes in there and he deals with it. He deals with the situation. When he is then chased for it after that, he escapes, and he successfully escapes. When he sees two young women unable to bring water to their flock because the men are hogging the well, he barges in there, he gets them water. Yeah, this is Musa alayhi salam. When he goes and he finds when he is sent to Pharaoh, yeah, he defeats the magicians of Pharaoh to such an extent that they start becoming his believers. They are the first, remember, the first Sahaba of Musa alayhi salam. The first of those who said, Amanna bi Rabbi Musa wa Harun. The first of those were who? Were the magicians. Yeah? This is, the Pharaoh tries to threaten him. He calls down plagues from heaven. Not one, 10. 10 plagues from heaven against an oppressor. When that oppressor rides out to utterly and finally defeat him, Musa splits the sea, guides his people through, and then the sea crushes the army of the oppressors. I mean, this is not a person who talked about justice, who wished that justice occur. This is a person who, flipping heck, this is a person who brought justice about in the most astounding way possible. Right? You can't play with Musa's justice. And it is that Musa, the defeater of the armies of Egypt, Musa, the bringer down of plagues, Musa, the conqueror of magicians, who is unable to stop Khidr from sinking a boat, from killing a child, and from doing something nice for an unjust people. Can you imagine how that must have burned at his heart? What did he have to have? Sabr. Why? Because he knew there was something to this, because Allah had guided him to Khidr. And what does Khidr teach him? Oh Musa, justice delayed is not justice denied. Justice delayed is justice fulfilled. That is what he teaches him. That is what he teaches him. How do you overcome tribulations and trials and so forth? Your sadness is real. Musa was sad. Musa's heart burned. It hurt when he saw the apparent injustices being done, and at his inability to prevent it, and at his inability to understand them. Khidr taught him, and he taught him so that that story could teach us. Khidr taught Musa, and Khidr is teaching us. Musa is teaching, Khidr is teaching us. Thank Allah for Musa alayhi salam. Thank Allah for the humility of Musa alayhi salam, that he submitted to the great prophet who submitted to learning. Thank him for his sabr, because he submitted and he had sabr as much as he could. Thank him for his inability to stop himself saying it, because that is his rahmah and that is his justice. And that's what made the lesson stick. If he had kind of gone, oh, okay, no. He did not witness Khidr sinking the boat and think, how curious. Well, that's interesting. He was like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's what he said. That's what that means. لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. Right? لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا. What are you doing? Stop. What are you doing? You got on your head or something? That. It was the pain. It was the very pain that was caused in his heart that made the ultimate lesson stick. It is through pain that we learn. It is through pain that we grow. All of us. Trees have to shed their leaves. They have to become naked against the cold in order to bring forth new leaves, new fruit. This is the story of Musa and Khidr. This is the lesson, and this is the lesson to us. Does it mean you do nothing? No, because the very next story, the story of Dhul Qarnayn, is about bringing justice. When you are in the position to bring justice, you bring justice. When you are in a position of helplessness, have trust in your Lord and realize, think about Musa. You are Musa and you are powerless in the face of the divine decree. Khidr is the sword of destiny. But that sword of destiny brings a mercy when it swings. But that mercy is only evident later. So look to the future, trust in your Lord, and insha'Allah, let your sadness be pure and not tainted by resentment and frustration and recrimination or guilt or hatred. Justice will be done. Leave it to the just. Allah make it easy. Sallallahu ala sayyidina wa mawlana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Assalamu alaikum.